Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
In the original trilogy, it's like, the Jedi were once these things. And then like in the prequels was like, we're Jedi, motherfucker. Like, join us. We're so cool. Welcome to Mandalorian, the Nerd-On miniseries where we all discuss about the Disney Plus show that happens every week, The Mandalorian. Today, we take off our masks, but only for a little bit, and we talk about Chapter 4, Sanctuary.
Kids don't notice because they're distracted by a little baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Sanctuary.
Let's get the show on the road. Let's introduce the host. I'm Tom.
I'm Ollie.
And on the
And I'm
Source
Corey.
Connect- Yes, we have Corey. And this episode is brought to you in part by the lovely people of the Nerd-On Nation, powered by Patreon. If you're unfamiliar with Patreon, it is a service where you can support your favorite creators from $1, and our tiers go up to $8 out of our 3-tier system, and be part of a Discord community. Listen to episodes that's never been aired on any podcatcher at all. Get exclusive inside access of what we do and how the show is made, but also be part of our shows during our Guest That Grump sequences, as well as our Nerd-On update. Get that Nerd-On nudge.
Yeah.
And in part by that, we also have some affiliates as well. My favorite part, if you're familiar with the Nerd-On showcase, some would say the internet's #1 source for comic books is Comixology, which we have an ongoing promo right now for any purchase of $15 or more using the promo code NERDON5. You get $5 off. You can check that out on our link, nerdon.io/Comixology.
That's like buying 3 comics and getting one of them free.
Yeah. That's like
Almost.
That's like buying a really good trade like House of X and then getting $5 off of it, baby.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth when you speak to me.
So you can read some cool Star Wars lore comic books that's currently in continuity in canon from Disney and Marvel. So check that out at nerdon.io/Comixology. So I'm done doing all the talking.
That's
we're
pretty sweet.
we're following the show, The
Yes.
Mandalorian.
Yes.
We're on
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And this is our third episode.
This is our 3rd episode.
Yes.
Yes. Our first episode covered the first 2 episodes of the show. And then we covered Chapter 3. And now we're talking about Chapter 4.
So let's get into it. What'd you guys all think?
I really enjoyed it. I have a soft spot for episode 3. And I think this was a nice turn from the espionage and the kind of the same location we've been sitting. It kind of reminded me of like what I wished Firefly was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got a lot of Firefly vibes from this episode.
Maybe because Firefly did something very similar to
did.
Yes, they did. But I thought this was executed really, really well. And I really enjoyed finding out not so much about the Mandalorian culture, but more about Mando himself.
Right.
And what beliefs he holds to be important.
Yeah.
So I liked it. Yeah.
I like how our 2 main characters don't have names.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Mando
Baby
and the
Yoda,
child.
Baby Yoda, and Mando. Ollie.
Yeah, we had some more personal, attention this time around with the widow. Interesting,
Yeah.
She got a little bit of that helmet off, a little bit.
Yeah, we got a little bit
so
of
close.
We got some more Star Wars food, spotchka.
Yeah,
You
So
know?
that was him. Like he thought about it, right?
he thought about it. He's like, that's
he
really
thought about it.
tempting.
He wanted it.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it's just that, that tropey, hero that can never settle because it's the middle of the season. So,
because this is the way.
Because it's the middle of the season.
it's the middle of the season.
And like him saying this is the way, like that after that like pause was almost tragic in a way.
Well, it's a subversion of the last episode. Where,
Right.
like, this is the way. It's such a cool, like, oh, that's dope.
right.
And also,
this is like, these are the drawbacks.
But they've made it heartbreaking.
This is the
Yeah.
lone wolf thing. Because also, again, cinematically, we haven't seen a Mandalorian in troves before. So, from a viewer standpoint who has no ideology of what Mandalorians are, they would have to assume, especially this audience who's watching this for the first time, that Mandalorians are typically lone wolves. Even though they belong to, a culture of people, they're typically nomadic by themselves.
Yeah, especially the lifestyle they choose. But this episode, I really did enjoy a lot. I thought it was a nice change of pace, just kind of like what Corey was kind of hinting at. And it was nice to see, because it's really easy to see this as a filler, because it's sort of like those one-off, just kind of like that Firefly episode with Jane or whatever.
Yep.
In the mud lands or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whatever that episode was. But I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed Gina Carano. I love that. Like,
I fucking
really
love
did.
Gina Carano.
I love that her first interaction is like a fight.
Oh yeah,
Like
for
it's
sure.
it's so appropriate.
You don't get an MMA UFC champ
Yeah.
like Gina Carano without a fight scene with her.
without a fight scene right off the bat.
And
yeah.
she has like
and she's like whooping his ass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. The flip
To
when
last
she flipped
Tuesday.
and like slammed it down
Yeah.
and his
But
legs
then-
came down last. I thought that was so cool.
But then also, I mean, just for me, the male gaze, I'm going to say it out loud. Like, she has that like beauty pageant smile
yeah,
that I'm like,
Mhm.
damn them dimples.
very
though.
disarming.
Which I'm just like, that's so badass. It's really cool.
Mhm.
I really enjoy.
Yeah,
Anytime Gina Carano's on screen.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought I
And
was
she owns it. Like
finally-
I know she could kick my ass.
Exactly.
100%. Like
Yeah.
easily.
You have to watch Fast and Furious.
I will.
Haywire, I think, is the movie.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, I actually really like them. That's the first movie I saw.
That
with her
was
in
the
it.
first kind of, I feel like in recent years of cinema being like, women also could be fighters and leading
Right.
characters of
Yeah.
films, and then no one watched it, and then same thing with Tom and Bond.
and obviously
Of course,
she's,
mine was Deadpool.
Yeah, she's in
that was my
Deadpool,
first.
obviously, right?
I'll go about that in the
Direction.
production. Jesus, guys.
So I mean,
Sorry.
but my impression of her was very positive.
Mm.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
I thought she killed it. I loved that she was an ex-shock trooper who joined the rebellion, and one of the little Easter eggs she said is that she's like, one of the jobs was after Endor. That's where I've been working after Endor, kind of on the run and stuff like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
But
understand that reference.
one thing I really love about this show, I think it exudes really well, is the thing that I've been wanting to do, which is play around in this sandlot of Star Wars.
Mhm.
And I feel like we got that with the ATST,
Mhm.
which was we benefit from having all these other movies and shows and stuff to tell us what the ATSTs are about and that they belong to the
Mhm.
Empire, and we've seen them in action. And to see one here, like in
Kinda
the middle
modded.
of nowhere, and exactly, and you're kind of wondering, like, where did this thing come from? How
Yeah.
did it end up here? And these like other scrappers, like so that was really cool to get that kind of like a little bit of like Star Wars fan service, of
Yeah.
course. But at the same time, it was
was part of
it's
the
nice
story.
to have the context going into it.
It makes sense. Like this is
Yeah.
kind of like, again, we're seeing the kind of splintering of
Mm-hmm.
the effects of the Empire as well as the destruction of the Empire. So it makes a lot of sense that like these like barbaric people that are attacking this peaceful village have some Imperial technology. You know, that they just probably hijacked because it was left behind. Like
Mhm.
imagine what all the Ewoks did. They ate all the stormtroopers. But I mean, like they never went hungry.
Yeah. Actually, isn't there like because the skulls and the helmets on top of
Oh,
their
for sure. I mean, they
spikes
wanted
and
to
stuff,
eat
yeah.
Luke too. So I mean, you know.
They for sure ate stormtroopers.
Yeah.
What about
Uh,
you, Tom?
For me, I really enjoyed the direction.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely say this is one of my favorite parts. I was really like, it wasn't too effective, but I'm glad that I kind of saw what the attempt was to
Mhm.
make the ATST scary.
Yeah.
Like this is the
Yeah.
first time like it didn't look like a stupid chicken walker.
Mhm.
Like, and I was like, oh, this is like a scary force. And like amongst people who aren't just jumping 15 feet in the air who have jetpacks, like
Mhm.
this is a formidable force.
Yeah.
It was shot like a horror film almost.
Yeah,
Because like we
which-
know what the ATST looks like,
Yeah.
but obviously, but like it's cool to have that cinematic effect
and
still.
we know what it does
attempted.
compared to like a rebel force. It's nothing. But then
Right.
compared to the AT-AT, where
Against
it's
a bunch
like,
of people running around.
yeah, but then like in a small environment, a small village, like it is a commanding force.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
if I was like driving around Burbank with a tank, it's like, yeah, no one's gonna take me out, guys. But then like
Yeah.
going against like the American military, it's like, I'm gonna get taken out, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was pretty it was interesting. I think I like, again, I gave it a pretty harsh like judgment, I guess, at the first two episodes. And then after these two, 3
Not
and
hard.
4.
I would say critical. It was just a critical judgment. I
fucking
wouldn't say
harsh. I'm cold-hearted ass. Okay.
Let it be an
I mean,
asshole.
you said it.
Yeah. So going in more into it, I'm kind of like, okay, cool. Because I'm currently watching Rebels as we speak as well. And so like seeing more of Dave Filoni's stuff, I'm kind of like, all right, I saw Clone Wars, all of it in its entirety, and then now I'm watching Rebels, and then now I'm watching this. I'm kind of like, all right, I'm seeing where where does Favreau leave off, where Filoni picks up, where does the director pick up, where the writer drops off. And it's kind of like gearing me into like more of like now I kind of get what the show is going to go with, and it's almost like anthological in some sense, where it's like it kind of feels like you kind of pick up with a little bit, and these
it's an
two
anthology story,
and these two characters are just going to be on the run, which is like kind of like cool.
Yeah,
it's different.
I dig it.
So with that, I guess we'll move on to our brief synopsis and our production. You know, it's
Sounds
a
good.
very, very brief. Corey, do you want to go for it, or you want to tag team it? What do you want?
Yeah. I can start it off.
Go ahead.
So we have the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, or as he calls it, Womp Rat, you little Womp Rat, heading to this pretty much deserted planet. He's talking about there's no spaceports, no nothing, not much there, kind of a farm planet. But us as the audience, we know from the cold open that it's actually pretty feisty down there. These farmers are attacked by what look like beast-like warrior-type aliens that come in and take their food and things and basically ransack the village. So while he's there, he's scouting the place out. He's sitting in a bar, and he sees a menacing looking ex-shock trooper across the restaurant there, who suddenly disappears. Pays the barkeep to keep an eye on the Baby Yoda, and goes outside and gets in a pretty unevenly matched fight until the very end, I would say.
QCQ.
The last moment there.
Or
yeah.
CQC.
What was that?
CQC. There you
CQC, close quarter combat.
go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Military.
And they both get distracted by little Baby Yoda's coming up. And he goes, you know what? Can I buy you a drink? And so they get to talking. And it turns out, remind me of her name one more time. Sorry.
Cara Dune. Played by Gina Carano.
Yes, is an ex-shock trooper who joined the rebellion to take down the Empire, and she's kind of been wandering around on the run ever since Endor. So they hit it off, and she says, well, it's nice knowing you, but unless you want to go round two, this is kind of my hiding place, so you got to get out of here.
Yep.
As he's packing up his ship to leave, some of the farmers come to him because they recognize his Mandalorian armor. They say, will you help us? We don't have much money, but we need help. And he's like, no, I'm not going to help you. That's barely chump change. And so they go, all right, I guess we're going to go back to the middle of the nowhere. And that sparks his interest, right? Because he's on the run. So he goes, middle of nowhere, huh? Do you guys have lodging? And they go, yeah, for sure. And he goes, okay. So he recruits his friend to go help defend against these raiders in exchange for a very private and peaceful place to hide. Through that, we meet a widow and her child who take interest in the Mandalorian, asking about his armor and if he's ever taken it off. And we find out a little bit more about Mando, saying, the last time he took his helmet off in front of someone, he was about the age of the children. And it's just, this is the way. This is the life I've chosen. They took care of me, and because of that, I respect their culture.
And then he takes it off for a quick second to get a bite to eat.
Yeah, but not in front of anyone.
Not in front of nobody.
So they go scouting to see what kind of, forces they're up against. And it turns out they have a chicken walker, ATST, who our shock trooper friend is very familiar with, having been in the Empire for a while, or fought against. And so they come back and they say, there's no way we can do this. And the villagers appeal to their softer side. We have a really great speech by Gina. And he says, well, we're going to learn how to fight. If that's the case, I'm not going to leave these people. So we have our training montage. Turns out our widow is a great shot. And they set up this trap to get the ATST trapped in the mud, essentially, and tip it over. Fighting ensues. Great battle ensues. And they finally take it down and protect the city. A few weeks go by, actually. And, Gina suggests, hey, why don't you settle down? You're on the run. This seems like a nice place to stay. And he goes, not for me, but for the kid. I think he can grow up here and I think be safe. So he's about to leave the kid there, but us as the audience, again, we get to see that someone still has a fob on him, a tracker. And a shot rings just as Baby Yoda's in the scope. And all the kids run away from Baby Yoda. And we cut back to the bounty hunter in the woods. And he was taken out from behind by none other than
Damn, Gina.
Damn, Gina. So the Mandalorian says, I guess I got to stay on the run because they'll come straight here. So they part ways and they say, until our paths cross again, which I'm praying they do. Bring her back, please.
It does if you go on IMDb.
Hey. Oh, okay, good.
Which I had to.
Spoilers. So, yeah, next thing we see, he's getting a ship and did I forget anything?
On the road again.
That's it, right?
Yeah,
Little baby
that's
Yoda face as they're leaving back to the ship.
And fair warning for
Um,
everyone listening, this whole show is spoilers. So I mean, if you were here,
yeah.
then you know what you're going for. She'll be back in episode 7 and 8. So
well,
there you
maybe
go.
some people don't want to know that like me, Tom.
well, she'll be back in 7 and 8. So the production, the episode is
Maybe
called
we'll cut that out. Who knows?
the episode's called Chapter 4, Sanctuary. Same writer and creator, but the director is Bryce Dallas
Bryce
Howard.
Dallas Howard.
Bay for days.
Whose directing works has been noted by most recently in 2019 Dads, Soulmates, which was a short, and then Vanity Fair Decades. Also did like other shorts she's done, so like When You Find Me, Orchids, things like that. Pedro Pascal, dons on his Mando suit again, but the extended cast or the side characters for the episode, Gina Carano, Deadpool, Fast and Furious 6, Haywire, and then Julia Jones, who plays Omera, who is the widow, is from Twilight, Eclipse, Westworld, and Wind River. And that's it. That's all I'm
There we
doing.
go. Well, there was what's his name? There's a really funny comedian actor in there. I'll look it up. I'll look it
I
up
know
while we
who
keep
you're
going. He's the guy who offered the Mando the money.
Yeah.
Really talented guy.
Yeah.
So I'll look him up while we're doing that.
On IMDb, the credits for each episode is atrocious. So whoever manages that, fix that.
What's wrong with it?
It's just like it mentions every character, and it's like,
Oh.
give me. And well, I mean, if you do the show, they'll do like episodes, like characters based on how many episodes they're in, right? So it's like that's smart because it's based on like how many episodes they're in the show. So that's kind of like they're one of the main cast. But if you go to the episode specifically, they don't just list everybody, and you're like, they're not even in the episode. And so I'm like, I don't know. And then all of them are like big infantry guy, small villager. I'm like,
Great.
It's like I have to look at the
Small
picture. I'm like,
villager.
how does he look like with prosthetics on? Anyways, the
His
runtime-
name is Eugene Cordero,
Eugene
and you will know him things from like Kong Skull Island, The Mule, obviously Mandalorian, Bob's Burgers, and Bajillion Dollar Properties, which is a fantastic comedy show.
The runtime for this show, or for this episode, was 41 minutes. Long episode.
Longy.
Yeah.
A longer one, yeah.
And the Rotten Tomatoes score has not changed. So the episode release was November 29th, 2019, and now we're out. We're done with all the info stuff. Now it's all just the personal opinions and analysis brought to you by
And
by
then
us.
Brought to you by Nissan. Just kidding. No.
Yes.
Or the helpful people in the
So yeah, favorite parts. Let's divulge. Like I
Okay, go
really
ahead.
loved just seeing a village, a rice paddy looking village.
Yeah.
That
Krill, right?
which that like had like, okay, I'm gonna bring it out here, and I'm gonna be weak.
good.
I'm gonna
Let's
be
get in
weak.
there.
I'm gonna show my weakness out here. Is that teal or turquoise? Like their main colors.
I'm going to say it's
fit-
turquoise.
Oh, the colors that they wear?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a turquoise.
Okay, because I, as a child, have been conditioned the wrong way, and I'm like, I don't know the difference anymore. I don't.
Mhm.
So they're wearing turquoise, and I kind of like that, where it's like, so
They're super
far
similar. Tom, don't feel bad.
we've been used to like a deserty thing, and then also we were talking about it a little earlier, like any type of spacefaring kind of like travel me along show has just typically been a lot of desert stuff.
Yeah.
But this time we get a lush, beautiful village, and I mean, albeit it's a like an oasis. Some would say, like, because the bar that he drops by and it's like also looks like Tatooine or wherever anyone's from.
Well, I think that's
yeah.
part of it. I think because we've seen those like concept arts at the end credits,
Mhm.
and those are used for establishing, like they're basically postcards for the scene, and a postcard is kind of like it's basically a piece of art that encapsulates the theme and the feel of a scene. So I think they have concept art of that, and Brown's flat.
I find
but,
myself
you want
just
to
not
look
beyond
more
this
interesting.
episode. Beyond this episode, I find myself sitting through the entirety of the credits just to watch the art.
Yeah. So they probably wanted to
can't
look
help
more
it.
interesting than just like gray and brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's something that
Thank you.
Star Wars had definitely found a home in.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of like, romanticized a little bit of like the Western mixed with the Japanese, samurai stuff.
Yeah.
And this actually gets a chance to kind of like, oh, this is like, to me, it was kind of like what Marvel did with Wakanda. Like everyone will like
Yeah.
sing praises about like the space and Guardians, but I'm like, Wakanda, like forest.
Forever.
And it's like, yeah. And it's
Mhm.
like, look at how technology can mix with nature. And like, it looks
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
You don't have to have the Iron Paradise all the time or Iron Jungle all the time.
Mhm.
So I thought to me, just the look of it was, I was just like, cool. I'm glad it had those kind of, I don't know, tones for this episode. And so it kind of
The palette.
and then also it worked well with Mando's armor. Like, and that's kind of smart. Like, I think thing that they did. I wouldn't want to say it's a conservative idea, but it's like silver will go anywhere, whether he's in a desert or he's in a lush garden. Like,
It's gonna look good.
he's gonna look good.
Although I noticed I didn't notice that one of his like thigh pads is still not Beskar.
You had to save some for the foundlings, baby.
Yeah,
He didn't need it,
this
baby.
is the way.
He doesn't need it.
It's the way.
He doesn't need it.
It's the way, baby.
He doesn't do leg day.
No, he doesn't do leg day. I was really fascinated by, I mean, we brought it up already about how they shot the ATST with the red eyes. Like
That
the
was really
modded,
cool. Yeah.
I
That was a
really
standout
liked the
thing.
look of that. I really dug it. And I really appreciated the entirety of Gina's role and how it was written and her tactical thinking. Like, give me the gun. Let me run up here and make it so it has to lean over to see me. I loved that whole fight. I really dug it.
Part of me wondered if she should just shoot the ground.
I was wondering about that.
But I mean, like, it's also, you know, could be impacted because I mean, like, if the thing's walking on it, then obviously, like, the ground's.
I was gonna say it was shooting the ground and it wasn't doing much.
I was thinking they should have blown something up behind it,
and then push it.
and then it would have like instinctually like maybe moved forward or maybe pushed it or something.
It was funny when you were saying like how you like the red eyes. I kind of almost wanted to see inside of it because I would like imagine it inside would look like a submarine.
Basically,
Probably, yeah.
And so like that'd be kind of a cool just shot to have because typically we have
because those have pilots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
that's why he
surprised.
would throw a grenade in there.
I think I heard a scream. I can't tell though.
Oh, people die.
Like no, with the grenade that he throws in
yeah.
at the end, I think somebody screamed or yelled or whatever. But
Oh, they did.
We can
They did,
ask,
right?
we can ask Josh wherever the audio lays is centered or in the back.
Where was the scream
yeah,
coming out of? Left.
I also I really would love to find out more about Omera. Like, where'd she learn to shoot? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
I was so heartbroken about him almost letting her take his helmet off. I mean, obviously, I knew it wasn't going to happen this early on in the show, but there's that small little romantic, sentimental side of me that was like, maybe it'll happen for her. So I'm on the when all is said and done with this show, that final episode, that's where he needs to end up. Is right back
I mean,
there.
5 seasons from now or 7?
Sure,
Sure, whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I think that's where
The
he
long
needs to
con
end
with
up.
like Captain America getting Peggy. Spoilers.
Also, the callback to the frog.
Oh yeah,
That was hilarious.
I wanted him to eat it.
I was like,
no.
oh no, it's good.
Well, the kids
He's learning.
Kids need to learn the circle of life.
Yeah. Well,
And
he's
that
learning
things
social
dies.
norms.
Yeah. I mean,
They got
it's-
the curl right there. They're learning.
yeah. I did like actually that Yoda. I wrote this in a note. Baby Yoda is becoming Jade from Jackie Chan Adventures. Where
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
stay here and never fucking stays there. Almost becoming some kids I don't like in other forms of media, but Baby Yoda's like cute as hell.
I love that they made
and-
him a little mischievous too, like him hitting the buttons all sneakily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That was
also
nice.
just
But he's-
drinking the bone broth,
Yeah,
you know?
just chilling.
So far, he hasn't put himself in danger,
Yeah, exactly.
which is the saving grace.
Yeah. I wonder where he
Uh,
was at during the whole final fight.
Also, shout out to, I mean, I've said this a long time. Shout out to, it was probably with the other kids.
Yeah,
I mean, where
Just
they were
being
all
safe for
hiding.
kids, yeah.
Sleeping.
To whoever was like, we're still going to go with puppets most of the time.
That's something I wanted to bring up.
Werner Herzog.
You saw it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking love that. There was a little snippet, everyone listening, that kind of revealed like Werner Herzog had overheard conversation that they might replace the Baby Yoda puppet with CGI. And then Werner Herzog said, "You are cowards, leave it." And I was like, because Werner
Yeah.
Herzog is one of those guys who's like, risk it for the fucking biscuit.
Yep.
If you
It's
have
so
a
much
vision,
better.
do it. And
It's so much better.
like, yeah. I mean, there's obviously points where like you gotta have to like CGI the puppet
Yeah.
itself so that
Right.
it can move a little bit more fluidly. But like there is a cuteness to seeing like a boxy type of like walk cycle and like
Well, I mean, even like the way like the ears would fidget,
Mhm.
you know, around or twitch, you really can't. Still haven't seen it really captured 100% perfectly
Mhm.
in CG,
Mhm.
even with the
No.
old Yoda. So
Do you know about the story about Simon Pegg and J.J. Abrams? About his daughter?
no.
no,
So
Force
Simon Pegg was
Awakens?
he was showing Star Wars to his daughter before Force Awakens was happening. And she thought Yoda was real. Not in the prequels, but in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because it was a puppet and it was something tangible and it could interact with people. And in passing with just talking to JJ, because he's, they're buddies and they've worked on Star Trek and all that kind of stuff, he mentioned that story to him. And so years go by and he gets invited to the Star Wars set. And everyone's like, really excited to see Simon. And someone comes up to him and he's like, oh, you're the guy who saved Star Wars. He's like, what are you talking about? And JJ said that in the pitch meeting of the producers, he told them the story about Simon and Pegg Daughter and why it was important to use puppets and realistic animatronics in the new Star Wars film. And that's why they did it. And I'm really excited that they're sticking with that with this Baby Yoda.
Shout out to Dark Crystal show that no one watched.
It really did make all the difference in Force Awakens.
I do.
And you can notice it here when the puppetry, it adds
well, even with Simon Pegg's
dimension.
character in Force Awakens, like it's mostly puppet except for the mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Christopher Nolan talks about that a lot. Like, there is such a sense in needing to see something that lives in 3D space.
Yes.
And like not eye line, but also how you interact blocking wise and geographically, like seeing how the characters move and interact with each other is like such a big deal. But then again, it's like our eyes kind of know what isn't real. And sometimes, like, even though there's phenomenal things that sometimes can trick us, like with a puppet, like our eyes don't have to really do that much work, and it's more of like our own ability to just have a suspension of disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the Jurassic Park effect.
Yeah. But with this episode, going back to like favorite parts and stuff like that, I really kind of liked that they expanded more about like, and it's not the important stuff. I like the expansion of like how other places work and interact. Like, how does about like a Mandalorian bounty hunter like work, like go in another place, and how are people there, and like, oh, if you get overpaid, like these kind of things. I'm like, I want to feel the world a little bit. It's like, again, if anything, to me, this is like the best sell for a video game.
Yeah.
This is the best sell for like, I want to see how an NPC responds to me.
Right. I
mean, are you saying like when he tosses her the extra coin and how excited she was?
I'll toss another flargon and spotchka.
This entire show has been that, like episode 2, where he's like, it's basically a side quest to go get the egg.
Oh yeah.
And then you level up your armor. Like, come on, this is an RPG.
I kind of feel.
in motion.
Yeah. I was gonna say I kind of feel like this is how you fight a boss battle.
Right.
Yeah, it's what Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO was supposed to be. Honestly, like that you can be a bounty hunter in that, and it used to be super rewarding because you could go on whatever, you make your decisions, you make your dialogue choices. Like, I would be so down for a hyper focus. Like, pick one class and go for it.
That'd be amazing.
Ollie, any favorite parts, baby?
I mean, just the ATST encounter in the fight, that whole bit, like with it, like standing up and seeing how tall it is, and then it kind of revealing itself slowly through the brush.
And you hearing the boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
it's like, I wonder if the director was recently in a dinosaur movie.
Well, I mean,
it's like there's a little bit of influence there, but it's like it works.
Gina Carano definitely did not wear heels.
No,
Definitely did not outrun a fucking chicken walker.
No.
Also, the opening scene was, I thought, great. I was not expecting
just the kind of
something
peaceful,
like that dramatic
massacre
to happen.
Oh, it wasn't even a massacre. It was just a rant.
It was an attack.
It was a raid, and them hiding under the basket, and like I think I was I felt like I was holding my breath along with them. I thought it was shot so well,
Very
like that claustrophobic in the basket shot.
Very Lord of the Rings.
Very Lord of the Rings.
It was
extremely,
attacking on
It was a very
the
low
village. entry
raid. It's probably the first raid.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a
It's
boss. There's not high mechanics.
Tutorial raid.
But I dug it. I think it looked really good. Like it had the positive vibes of like the things I like out of Lord of the Rings in that scene, and it was very intense, and you were constantly on the edge of your seat with them kind of hiding in the basket. I think
I was for sure thought that main guy was going to turn around and
notice the basket and something
for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I did like was kind of a little bit of the exploration of like what happens when you do take off that helmet, that kind of conversation.
Right.
Because again, like we've seen so much Jedi stories. Like right now in the new trilogy, it's like how the Jedi are like dead, and then like in the original trilogy, it's like the Jedi were once these things, and then like in the prequels was like, we're Jedi, motherfucker, like join us, we're so cool. And this is
but
kind
we
of,
do not grant you a seat on the council.
Yeah, and then like seeing Clone Wars, and then again Dave Filoni stuff, right? And then Rebels, again I'm only in the first season, and then Sabine So she's like a pink armor wearing bounty hunter. Mandalorian, and she takes her helmet off all the fucking time. And so when he says that, I'm like, okay, so definitely cultures and religions can change with time and shit. But
Different
also it's like
sects.
making, to me, you know, it's hard to not watch it through the prism of like current society and like how people have religious apparel that they keep on for specific things.
Mhm.
And so people don't take off, you know, like whether it's something you wear over your head or something you wear on your wrist or something you wear over your neck. Like there are things that you don't take off, and when you do, those are very important.
Like a lot of cultures don't cut their hair.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I thought this was really kind of cool to, like, again, using sci-fi to talk about bigger things is like that just makes my Baby Yoda grow.
I like hearing the reason of like, and it's not a full reason, but it gives you a lot more insight when he says, like, why can't you? What would happen if you took it off? And then he says, I wouldn't be able to put it back on. Like you can kind of get a hint of some of the mythology of like the
Dishonor
way
on your whole family.
that's the way of like if you're Mandalorian 100% of the time, there's no taking a break from it.
There's no part-time, baby.
There's no part-time Mandalorian. And I thought that was you get a little bit of that, and it's nice when you do. That's what I really enjoy, because you know, like dipping into qualms a little bit, it's a very paint by numbers like story, but I liked that it was like the story could kind of get out of the way of us kind of learning a lot more about the Mandalorian, the character himself. And,
It was a nice way to slide in some exposition.
Yeah.
And I mean to go back to the taking the helmet off kind of thing. There were a couple different factions of Mandalorians that broke off. Some sided with the Empire and stuff like that. So like you're saying, Tom, like it's much like there's like Christianity and Lutheran and stuff like that. It's whatever whatever kind of like, you know what I mean, sect you're with is whatever you code.
Look, everyone at home, I was born a Buddhist, but I'm definitely probably like the least, not like I don't like religions and stuff like that, but man, so many of them out there, it's so confusing who believes in what nowadays. I'm just like, yo, like some of y'all believe in him, some of y'all don't, some of y'all whatever. I'm just like, it's crazy. So
and that's
like,
just one planet.
But like, but so like, what if Star Wars delved into that? Like, you know, there's more than just the light and the dark side of the Force. There's more than just how like the classic, you know, Mandalorians were, or the traditional ones, or like New Age ones. You know, what edition of the book are you reading? You know, it's like
this is very classic Mandalorian that he's following.
And it'd be really cool to see, like, you know,
like old school, Old Testament shit.
And even then, like I don't know if we talked about it on this episode, but like even like Qui-Gon was like much more traditional comparative, like to almost Yoda, like where he was like, you guys are getting too far into politics and like the veering the Jedi the wrong way, where I'm more into like the actual fucking way of the Jedi.
Balance of the Force.
Exactly. Yeah. So like
peacekeeping.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's really cool to kind of get a little bit more. It's not going to happen in this season for sure, but in later seasons, maybe it's more about other in later seasons, maybe like each episode's a different Mandalorian.
Maybe.
And he's like the leader of his. Anyways. So
you saying that makes me
becomes
wish.
Mandalore.
Do you remember the B plot in, I guess you could call it the A plot, in Attack of the Clones, where Anakin is just like house sitting in like Padme or at her island retreat?
I don't like sand.
Like imagine if that was like a training sequence, not a sequence, but like a training, you know, plot line between him and Obi-Wan, where they were like on an isolated planet somewhere.
Maybe
like
he was
talking about
maybe
the
he was at one of
Force.
the Jedi temples
Stop
and
giving me a boner
and getting one of his Jedi prophecies or visions. So, anyways, we could always
maybe we'll see in
just
the
thought of that
Obi-Wan
randomly.
TV show when it comes out.
Maybe.
So we'll go into. I mean, there's really no other characters. I would say like side characters. So I would say it would be like Omera as well as Cara Dune.
Yeah.
And then the one funny guy that you mentioned, Corey.
I mean, I'd say Cara.
Oh, by the way, Omera, the gun she shoots is the same type. Do you know who Bosk is? Bosk is the lizard bounty hunter in Empire and Empire, I think, or New Hope. When he's talking to them, he's like, "No disintegrations."
Oh, okay.
There's this lizard-looking bounty hunter there. His name's Bosk, and she's using the same gun.
You mean like the Boskalisk?
Yeah, kind of.
Speaking of that one bounty hunter at the very end with the fob, I almost thought it was Cad Bane.
Oh,
because I saw the hat and I was like, it can't. But then it was just a hoodie, and I was like, because to me that made me like a little excited. I'm like, could I see some really dope bounty hunters that's not Mandalorian?
You might,
because that would be
I'm
kind
sure
of cool to kind of like explore as well.
Yeah.
Like it's not just Carl Weathers and my favorite partner.
No, I think we will.
We've seen a
'cause-
few Twi'leks now.
Yeah.
Well, as the farther he gets away from that system, I
Mhm.
think you'll start seeing those because that's just that one system
Mhm.
of those bounty hunters.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
different.
once-
I'm into it.
Yeah. So
Uh,
maybe.
So, favorite side characters.
Cardu, for sure.
Cara
Yeah,
Dune.
Cara Dune.
Yeah.
I have a weird feeling that. Well, I mean, 7 and 8 is going to be there. God damn you, Tom.
She,
I was going to say I have
Yeah,
a weird
I was
feeling
like-
that I was going to see her again, but
she,
just
she was
immediately remembered.
definitely my like back in the day before Gal Gadot was casted. She was my pick for Wonder Woman.
Oh, I can
that
see
could
that.
work. Yeah,
Well, and also she used to date Henry Cavill.
that
So
would. Oh, hey, perfect.
Well, there you go.
there it is. But yeah,
Shout out
she-
to Gal Gadot, though.
Yeah, I know. I love everyone. But no, she's great. Gina Carano.
What is it? Less angry at Rosie O'Donnell?
No, I thought it was lesbian Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure the quote, the line was lesbian Rosie O'Donnell. Maybe that was the blooper.
Less
and he got
angry
I was
Sounds
gonna say, I'm
familiar.
thinking the blooper.
Yeah.
And,
No,
he,
yeah.
and he goes, he literally says, less angry Rosie O'Donnell. And then they say
Punt.
cut. And he goes, sorry, Gina.
Yeah.
I love it. She goes, you're
Damn, Gina. So I guess
Qualms?
that moves us to qualms. Who wants to start out?
I don't
Right.
have many. But it's this. I mean, it's Ollie. Go ahead, because it's the same one as you, pretty much.
The fuck? You
yeah,
guys
just-
talk about this before this?
No, he just
No,
said.
it's
I
just
know what
the
he meant when he said
episode.
paint by numbers.
Right. The episode was very paint by numbers. You could even kind of tell it in the mother's face, like when the Mandalorian's coming to stay there. And I'm like, oh, she's a survivor, and she's. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then he's gonna maybe ask her what happened at some point, and she's gonna be the character to transcend yada yada. And then they're gonna
Break his
band
tough
together, exactly. And then they're gonna band together and
To
overcome
defeat the
the Hun.
Huns.
You've seen it in you've seen it in A Bug's Life. You've seen it in Firefly.
When I asked for Mandalorians.
You're the
And you see it
saddest bunch.
now in Star Wars.
But yeah, that's my only real qualm. But I'm not upset about it.
Me neither.
Like I said, it's what I wished Firefly was, like the episodes of Firefly. For those of you, I'm on the minority. For those of you who don't know, who wasn't a fan, but this is exactly what I would have wanted it to be.
Is
something
exactly
like
100%, so not paint by the numbers?
this. I mean, this is.
I'm
Well,
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Again,
giving
like
you
I said,
shit.
I didn't complain because I think the episode
just the most obvious
serves
example.
a purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it serves. It needs to be the paint by numbers because of what we're getting out of it.
It's the closest parody because it's sci-fi and it's a rural blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's the same
Right,
kind
the
of
Mud Town, right? That
Yeah.
episode.
Exactly.
But I thought this was executed better.
I agree.
I have a bunch of qualms.
for it.
I
Hear
think
it.
this is the worst written episode so far.
Oh, really?
I think some of the dialogue is just terrible, and I think they didn't need to have it. Like, "Come on, you hunk of junk." It's like, all right, we don't need that line. Also, like, what are you waiting for? I'm thinking. It's like, we don't need to say that. We fucking can tell. Like, there's some things that there's just like, why did that line make it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a 41-minute episode. Why did that line make it? Versus just like a shot of her looking at what's happening and maybe seeing the carnage and then seeing like the ATST and then be like, she's making a plan. Like, that's it. But first, I'm thinking. It's like, no shit, you're thinking. Like,
Yeah,
it
there
just
was a
felt like
couple
they needed
moments like that.
filler lines to be like, we have to make sure we make time. It's like,
To
no.
be fair, though, if we were in a battle and I just saw you sitting there staring, I would go, "What are you doing, Tom?"
Well, you know how I'm
To be
staring.
fair.
You know how I'm staring. And
Maybe.
I mean, like, I think, again, during
I'm
people
not arguing your point. I'm
Battle
just
of War,
being an ass.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, like,
There were a couple really.
but the thing is, you
well-written
could
scenes,
change
I think.
that again. Like, certain dialogue should be effective to a point where it's like they progress things
Mhm.
and like
It could
questioning.
be like, "What are you doing? What needs to be done?" And then
Well,
take his gun and run up there.
not even what are you doing, but it's like it's just more like, what's your plan? Because
I would say
that's
yeah.
more like active. It's like
Yeah.
you already know she has a plan, and maybe she's like, I don't know yet. Maybe there's like a thing where it's like, oh,
What I would say is the character moments were written, I think, written well.
Mhm.
Like the scene with him and the getting settled down right before he takes off his helmet, and then him like in the beginning with the Baby Yoda talking to him there. But then like the idle logistical
barkeep
kind
and-
of like get point A to point B dialogue, I agree with. Like
Yeah,
that,
well, I
that
mean-
was kind of like filler.
I would
Mhm.
say this. I really did not connect at all with this. I feel like faux pas forced romance wannabe thing, and like to me it was like, is it kind of like because she's just being nice to him, and then she's asking him questions that no one else in the show has asked him yet.
We don't know what's been going on those last few weeks.
It's a few weeks.
And so I was just, I mean, there's a lot of kinky sex that could happen, baby. And I'm here
with
for
the helmet on.
Yes,
you never know,
baby.
man.
I'm down for it, but fucking show it to me. You know what I'm saying? But fucking show it to me. You want to make it like fucking weird that he has sex with the mask on? Also make it weird that like he just met this girl and he's like, I'm about to take off this mask for you. It's like, no, you're not. How many people have you killed and you were going to give it for her? Like, to me, that was like so weird. I was like, I feel like that was so forced for me.
Well,
and then,
I think what it was is him realizing not necessarily for her, but it was like too good to be true. Like all the check boxes were checked.
Yeah.
You know, like
he kind of
he
stumbled
gets to
into
lay
paradise.
low.
Especially for the writing.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah. Right.
I also
he gets to lay low. He met someone he connects with, and he can protect the baby Yoda at the same time.
I felt, which I liked. I liked the fact that he was planning to. I liked the ending. I liked the ending a lot because to me, that was like I think that was a good writing bit of like I'm gonna leave.
It was gonna happen for sure.
That he was gonna leave or that he was gonna stay.
That he's gonna leave the base. I thought that was gonna be like,
I like that,
and then something was gonna draw him back.
Exactly. That he would have an episode maybe without him and it'd be sad and be like, you know, Lee and Tucker.
I miss
and all
my boy.
But like, the beginning I thought was cool, but it wasn't to me that great. Like when I got it, I watched it and I got a glimpse and a flashback of the opening of Inglourious Bastards. And I thought that would have been a little bit cooler because it's nothing.
They just need Quentin Tarantino to
nothing happened. Because it's like, we stole your shrimp and then walked away.
That's what I'll say is that the stakes didn't feel that. I mean, wait, did they so I was a little confused. Did they did they massacre the village and then they were fine like a few weeks later?
No, they just get their shit stolen. That's it. No one really died.
Nobody really died.
You don't see it.
Well, because at the end of the beginning, she looks at the thing and there's not a single soul and the droid's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I was a little confused, like how far into the future have we come?
So, I mean, I'll connect
for them to have recovered.
I'll connect to these points.
That's a good point.
This whole story is the train the villagers trope. And this to me is like, I feel like in the pitching room, they're like, we got to do an episode where we train the villagers.
Yeah.
Because that was created by Akira Kurosawa with Seven Samurai. And Magnificent Seven was a direct Western adaptation of it. They've done it in Army of Darkness. They did it in Bug's Life. They've done it so many times that like you smell it.
3 of the people were the same, and they were the comedian guy, his friend, and
which I mean,
lady,
to me, I'm glad that like you had 2 distinguished faces. The 2 guys that got the bounty hunt, like they got Mando to go with them. Like they got their moment where they killed the leader of the other tribe, and like cool, you got a glimmer of seeing them in action because you have O'Mara who's like, I don't know why you're training because apparently you're just a natural at shooting.
Yeah,
so who cares? But like, so that whole trope of like, hey, we're going to train the villagers felt like no shit, this is going to happen. To me, I think it would have been actually, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It might be in hindsight. I think it could have been saved for an 8th, like the later in the episode, because to me, it's like there's not much establishment with this. Like this village is like, who gives a shit about them? He could just have pieced out. But then again, this is trying to show that Mando is a good guy.
Yeah.
And like they're trying to fight only because like, oh, my lodging's not good. Like, because I wasn't even going to help you before, but now that you've given me house, I might like it. So it just felt weird because the thing with that kind of story, the way the elements need to happen is that you have to have the unlikely hero, and which is the Mandalorian as well as Cara Dune. But then it kind of felt like it just felt so too simple. Like we can't do it by ourselves, so we have to leave.
Yeah,
but we're going to train.
What Ali and I were saying. It's just very like by the books. But the information I got out of it for me kind of outweighed some of that.
It was that story, but like without a second act in it.
Yeah,
because it didn't have
it.
It didn't have that like the villagers were reluctant, so they carried on, and then something worse happens, and then that catalysts them into. Like that's the typical version of that story, I feel. And then this one was kind of very like, basically Mando being like GTFO from this planet. And then like within a minute, I feel like they were like, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I did forget actually one of my favorite scenes in this episode is actually when they're on the little hovercraft going to the village, and and Cara Dune as well as Mando are both illuminated by the little like lamp. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful shot. And I'm just like, there's not one shot that looks like this in Star Wars.
No.
And I was like,
yeah,
they fucking need, this is what like to me is what's to me revitalizing the franchise a little bit for me, where it's like, interesting cinematography between different characters that we're not used to. So like,
well, it's like you have this franchise. It's sci-fi. You get these amazing like scopes and scales and like amazing imagery that you can do. Like, do it.
Yeah.
Don't squander your opportunities
me,
to
like,
have amazing looking art.
And what I talked about with like how the first time we see the ATST, like it looks terrifying. The first time you ever see that ever in Star Wars cinema is like from Rogue One. And even then was like, it kind of wanted to hold back a little bit on it. But like that is what also like drew me to that film, because there was a lot of shots of Jyn Erso, I believe that's the character. Like that looked fucking phenomenal. I was like, these are the cool shots between characters that aren't illuminated by a lightsaber. I mean,
the beach, like the whole beach third act, like that was stunning.
I will say lightsabers are fucking dope, but it's kind of cool to see some shots that aren't illuminated by lightsabers sometimes, and like see how well it can work. But yeah,
there's a time and place.
Yeah, and so seeing this, like I was like, there's really cool imagery, iconography, but then like I will say this in light of my pointing out that this is the train the villagers trope, like. I'm glad there's a version of it in Star Wars now. And I'm like, everyone's got to have it. Fucking Avatar has it. Everyone's got it. Batman, everyone has it.
A pretty damn good one, too.
And so I'm like, this is, there's worse travesties to be had in Star Wars.
Yeah, and this is just like being like, well, we have to stretch to find a qualm, really, with this, with a lot of this content. I mean, I think we can all, I hope I can speak for us all, where we were like, we're pleasantly surprised that this is a good show.
Yes.
Like saying the word, like I think you can say that comfortably.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's watchable for me.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but it's like saying I don't have to stretch to find the qualms in it, because like to me,
you're excited to tune in every week and you want to watch it.
Like,
and you get excited when the Star Wars logo comes out.
Also, like it's revitalized a little bit of like the love for weekly shows. Yeah. And so I mean, like Watchmen's doing the same thing, DC Titans is doing the same thing, and it's like. Yeah, I kind of miss this. I hate
new Star Wars fanfare when it comes up. Like, I mean, that's stuff I'd be crying for when I was a kid.
I've begun to hate binge culture, and like weekly shows, like it's kind of like you water cooler talk a lot, and it's like fun.
You get to. We're still talking about Baby Yoda.
I got a love for both, but it is refreshing to be able to. If you were to ask me a question about. Like, what episode did this happen in? I could tell you.
Yeah, it allows you to
Stranger Things. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah, it allows you to distinguish all the episodes.
Yeah.
I also want to say a little Easter egg when he calls it a hunk of junk is the same thing Lando says. He's like, fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. I love those little circular Easter eggs.
I think that was why I was more okay with those like quips and the weird name calling things, and it's like because that's very Star Wars, and at least very original trilogy, and to me. Like people, you still hear every now and again that like the Mandalorian is too chummy, like talks too much, and you're like, I don't really understand people coming from that. But I always
want him to be Boba Fett for some reason.
Well, always say, imagine Harrison Ford reading that like as Han Solo, like, and I think you'll feel a little bit more comfortable with the dialogue itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Corey's point, like people are putting their expectations on what they want the show to be versus like letting the character have its own identity. Because I think there's shows that like Samurai Jack that do really well, and you see the character's face, and he doesn't say like more than like 5 lines in an episode.
Yeah,
but like that works, and like you can do that with this character too. But it's just not.
He's a normal guy.
Well, it's not what the creators want, and so like you have to respect what the creators want. It's not
a different guy.
Again, it can't be fan-owned content. You have to let the creator own the content. So
on that note, I do hope that they keep working to build a bit more personality with him. Because right now I would say, as interesting.
Every bit we get is great.
It's great, but I would love to see him have to make certain like more difficult decisions.
I mean, that's again, I talked about it in the last episode, and you guys all said, well, don't get too excited, Tom. So we'll leave that there wherever it might, how the 8th episode will unfold. They have a season 2 on their way. So, obviously whatever decisions happen at the last episode have to set the pace for the season 2. So,
but we're over the hump, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we have 4 more. Yeah. So excited.
Shout out to Bryce for being the second female director of the Star Wars series.
Just had to be related to the solo director. So just kidding.
Solo second director.
I know, right? But yeah, that wraps up the show. Thank you everyone for listening. If you
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Slip and slide into our DMs, especially that's our preferred way. Give us a rating on iTunes and wherever you listen to podcasts. That really helps out the show and also gives us a chance to course correct and make anything better for you, the listener. Since you are part of this, and we love you. And
Yeah.
if you want to listen to any more, check us out on nerdon.tv. Or just look. Actually, if you just Google "Nerd On" the podcast, we're the first
Shout
one.
out.
Store.
We also got brand new merch out.
Yeah. And make sure to check out nerdon.io/comicsology until December 31st.
Yeah.
Ollie, ring us out, baby.
You know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.